I've always known there's something. I quickly became aware of this God who knew me and who wanted a relationship with me.
A lot of the love in this world is conditional, but Jesus is different. He loves you because that's just who Jesus is. He's replaced my anxiety with his unconditional love for me.
Home to me is about family. Family is all about comfort and supporting one another.
No matter what I've done or said, he welcomes us into his family with open arms.
So guys, yeah, I mentioned it's good to be back north. I've got a bit of a confession to make being in Durham. I'm just going to clock the time. Wave at me when I've been 15 minutes, please, Tom, if I reach that. But we're at Durham University, and I came within a fraction of coming to Durham University. Can you believe I didn't end up coming? I had a place, and it was there on the table, but at the last minute, I pulled the plug and I reapplied, and I've got to confess, I got the fear, guys. You've obviously pushed through it, but I just got the fear that it was going to be a bit boring. Is Durham boring? Convincing, I made the right choice. Excellent, thank you guys. No, so I pulled the plug and I applied and I got a place at Edinburgh. I'd visited my brother in Bristol and I'd met one of his friends, a lovely girl, and I'd fallen for her and I thought, I'm going to go to Bristol. And then she ended up not liking me back and I'd reapplied. I'd lost my place at Durham and I ended up at Edinburgh. So it all went a little bit pear-shaped, but I had a great time there and it's great to be exploring this city a little bit. Just spent a couple of hours in the cathedral this morning. But also it's great to be here on a mission week. Preaching to you because I guess you're all from ages of about 18, 19 through to maybe 24, 23, 24, something like that. And that was a key time in my life. The story of my own journey of faith is that I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I wasn't from a Christian family. We didn't used to go to church. I went to a school that we did chapel almost every day. So probably by the time I came to faith, aged 18, I'd spent hundreds, if not probably 1,000 hours in churches and church services before it meant anything. It just seemed boring to me. It seemed completely irrelevant to my life. I didn't even wrestle with whether it was true or not because it was just a different world. I don't know if that sort of rings true for some of you. And like I said, my family weren't into it. My friends weren't into it. I was busy doing other stuff. But then aged 17, 18, I just started having a stirring. And just questions started coming into my mind about what is life about? Why are we here? Why is there life at all? What's going on? We're on a rock spinning around the sun. I mean, what on earth? And yet we seem to make life about, getting grades and getting your place at university and getting on the treadmill, the career ladder and making money and having babies and then retiring and then getting old and then dying. I mean, is that it? Is that what life's about? And I was haunted by these sort of questions and provoked out of my stupor, and I was doing what any other teenager, 18-year-old got up to, just the stuff we shouldn't be doing at boarding school. But I started grilling my Christian friend about, what is it you believe? Answer my questions about God, and are there UFOs? And perhaps they have the answer. All this sort of stuff. The big questions you've all got. I know you've all got them. And he started taking me to church in London. He took me to the Christian Union at school. Never knew it existed. And in the end, he invited me on a camp in the Easter holidays, run by an amazing organization. And it was there that I heard a talk on the evidence for the resurrection of Jesus, which is, of course, what Christianity all hinges on. It hinges on this person. Who was this man? Why did he die on a cross? And did he really come back from the dead? And I heard a talk on the evidence for Jesus really being alive. That the tomb was empty, which history records, because he rose again from the dead. Robbers didn't nick the body. The disciples didn't nick the body. The authorities didn't nick the body. He was genuinely dead. He didn't get up in the middle of the night, roll away a 1-ton stone, and then limp off into the bush. It was guarded by soldiers. He was alive. And I went back to my room that night, and I prayed a prayer, seemingly to the ceiling. And I said, God, I don't know you yet, but I want to. I think you're real. Will you come into my life? Here I am. You can take me. You can take the stuff that I probably shouldn't be doing. Maybe drinking too much. You can take the drugs. You can take all the other stuff. You can take all the areas where I find my identity, my security, if I can just find you. Here I am. And in that moment, all I can say is God met with me and his love filled my heart. And I felt transformed. I felt such a peace, such a joy, such a hope, such a love that I didn't know existed. And I was honestly a different person from that day forward. And I start with that because it sort of leads into what this week's about. And I really want to encourage you just to engage with everything you can about this week. Come each lunchtime. I want this to be more of a conversation. In a moment, we're going to be doing question and answer, and sort of afterwards, I'll be around in the cafe. I'd love to chat with you or chat with your friends who've brought you. But let's go on a journey. Let's have this conversation because there is so much to be found. There is everything. If this is true, if Jesus is alive, then everything can change in your life, but also in our world. And part of that message was I found a God who loved me. And I found a sense of value. And our title today is, Am I Worth More Than My CV? Or in one other edition of it that reached me on email, Am I Worth More Than My Achievements? I told someone that I was speaking on that yesterday, am I worth more than my CV? And she said, well, it depends how you write your CV. I don't encourage that when you're going for a job. They might question you about it. But we live in a world, don't we, that seems to say so often that we're only worth anything, we're only of value if we are successful in what we put our efforts into. If we make the grades and get the grades, if we earn X amount of money, if we look this way or behave this way or live this way, if we do those things, then yes, you're of value. And you can be loved. And in a sense, why not? Why is that not the right experiment? Why is that not the right answer? Sorry. And let's just do a little thought experiment now. Let's revisit that question. Am I worth more than my CV? Am I worth more than my achievements? And I'm going to answer that saying no. No, you're not. Of course you're not. Why would you be worth more than your CV, than your achievements? I wonder, as I say that answer, no, you're not worth more than your CV, how does that make you feel? Because I think there'll be three types of people, three groups in this room, three responses. There'll be one group that says, hang on, Pat, that's easy. That's wrong. And the reason you think it's wrong is because you say we are worth more than that because there is a God in heaven who loves us. In other words, there's a bunch of Christians in the room, right? Amen? And you disagree with that because of your faith. That's fine. That's group number one. I'm not really fussed about you guys. You can get out of here as far as I am concerned today. There's a second group of people. Your answer to that question, me saying, no, you're not worth more than that, is also, Pat, hang on, that's wrong. We are worth more. But if you're honest, you don't quite know how to back that up. You don't quite know why you have that feeling. It's just a sense. It's just a hunch. It's just something that, it just doesn't sound right, does it? That we're not worth more than our CV. So you're in that camp number two. And then there might be a third group of you here today who, when I say, no, you're not worth more than your CV, you say, absolutely right. I knew it. I completely agree. Yes, we are not worth more than our CVs. Anyone want to put your hand up? You're in that camp right now. But that's where many would be, right? And that would be, I want to say that I think there are only two intellectually, that hold together with integrity views out of those three. And I want to say it's the Christian one, because that's built on the foundation of believing there is a God who gives us value. More of that in a moment. That has intellectual integrity. The second view that has intellectual integrity is to say, no, we're not worth more than our CV. Because there's no data to suggest that there is. I want to challenge those of you who are in the middle group, which I think is most of our culture, right? Most of our society. Probably most of you here today, if you're not currently a Christian, not a churchgoer, not quite sure what you believe, if you're in the camp where you say, Pat, I disagree. I think we are worth more than our CV. I just don't quite know how I can back that up logically. It's you that I want to speak to today and hopefully encourage to see why there might be a reason for you holding that view. Because either, guys, there's two stories in the world, aren't there? Fundamentally, we see it played out in our culture. Either we are here by accident, by chance, and there's no meaning, there's no purpose, or we are here on purpose, by design, with intention, that something or someone wanted us here. You know the scientist Brian Cox, Professor Brian Cox? He's from the north. He's from this neck of the woods, isn't he? Do you know the guy I mean? You know, he used to be in D-Ream, play the synthesizer. And he's soft, that's about his voice, isn't it? Do you know the guy I mean? Anyone know who I mean? Hands in the air. Come on, interact. Okay, great. You've seen the Universe series he's been doing about like how the universe came to be. I love his work. I'm a big fan of his. Amazing hair. Incredibly soft. But just holds its form and shape. I don't know what product he uses. Remarkable. Half of you are like, what is he talking about? Anyway, he's talking about the universe, if you've seen that series. And he's exploring the sun. And the sun which gives life to the whole world, the earth. And I love his work, but it's always sort of slightly adorned with slight digs at religion, isn't it? And faith. Because he wants everyone to know he's an atheist and you don't need to believe in God to believe that science is right and has got all the answers. So he has this moment where he says, he's looking, the sun's behind him, and he's explaining how sun gives life to everything. We don't need any more answers. He's like, so we don't need to go around, making up imaginary gods. We can just look up and see the real thing. And that's his worldview. That it all comes from the universe. And we see that in the world around us, don't we? We see people just saying, thank you, universe. They don't know who to thank, but they're like, thank you something, because I believe there's something more, but I can't put a name on it. And Brian's saying, look up and see the sun. And I'm like, Brian, it's a ball of gas. And it's on fire. And it can't bring about intelligent life, can it? Although it sort of did, it played its part, but it was playing a part. And there's these two worldviews, here by accident or here on purpose. So there's Brian's view, or there's the Christian view, that this incredibly complex universe, so finely tuned, which allows life, you and me, the most complex beings so far discovered in the universe, allows us to come into existence. There's mystery, isn't there? And I think any agnostic in the room, anyone in option 2 of those views in our responses, holds that view that there is mystery, there's something wonderful going on, even if we can't put our finger on it. And the Christian view says there is that, and you feel that, because this world has a creator. It has a designer. And that's why there's purpose, which explains the beauty that we all enjoy and experience, which explains the love which we see as so real in our world and in our lives, which explains life itself. For me, obviously, as a Christian, that is the most logical explanation for it all. And for the agnostic, the one who says, no, Pat, you're not right to say that we're not worth more than our CVs. We are worth more. For the agnostic who just doesn't know why we're worth more, well, that's why. Because there is a God who made us. And separate to our achievements, separate to how your performance in this life is going, separate to how you feel judged or seen by the world, or whether you're good enough, you might feel at the bottom of it all. Separate to all of that, there is a God who loves us because of who he is and who he made us to be. There's a principle in the Bible, a theological idea that's called the image of God, that talks about at the beginning of it all, God made human beings. And what's unique about us is he made us in his image, in the image of God, that separates us from the rest of creation and which gives us inherent value. I've left my illustration over here. I'm going to need to go and get this. But just today, the CU were kind enough to stretch to to lending me a £20 note. I asked for a pinky, I asked for a 50, but this is the best they could do. But this is a £20 note, right? Crisp and fresh from the cash machine. Spotless. And how much is that worth? Come on, Durham. It's worth £20, isn't it? And you can buy 20 quid's worth of stuff in Cafe Dral or Spoonies or whatever it's called. So that's a beautiful bit of kit. That's lovely. We all want to get our hands on that. And it looks nice. But imagine if I just take this and I scrunch it up. You're like, oh, come on, Pat, easy. I'm scrunching it. And where else? What else? Put it in my armpit. That's actually genuinely a bit sweaty in there. So it gets a bit sweaty. I'm like, spitting on it, and I'm filthy stage. Yeah? 20, under the foot. Where is it? Look at it. Scrunched up. Dirty. Horrid. And yet, you know what's coming, right? What is its value? It's still worth 20 quid. Who wants this 20 quid? Come on, you're all students. I know how you live. 20 quid. Okay, who's a guest in here today? Actually, you're here and you don't know how you found your way here. Okay, would you like to come to the front? Let's give it up for that lady at the back. And I need a fella. I need a bloke who's visiting today. Come on, you're going to play for this. Come up here, my man. Let's give it up for these guys. Come up here. I asked for a bigger lectern and they could only find this one. But thank you, guys. So, guys, you're going to face off. 20 quid is up for grabs. A quick round of best of 3, rock, scissors, paper. Okay? But just before you what's it called? Rock, scissors? Oh, rock, paper, scissors. Come on, Edinburgh. Okay, so best of 3 and winner. The only thing is, if you're going to win that, you have to agree that the winner becomes a Christian. Okay? You happy to do that? No? Okay. No, I'm joking. We wouldn't stoop that low. We'd definitely make it 50 quid next time. Okay, so on your marks, get set. Hands out. On 3. So it's 1, 2, bang. Sheet. Do you call it sheet? Shoot. Okay, whatever. Okay, let's go. It's 1-0 to Emily. Okay, here we go again. Come on, Sam, get in the game. Oh, is it draw? It's 1-1. Who's your money on? Whose money's on Big Sam? Not many. There's the wise money. Money on Emily. Come on. Here we go. Ready? That'll help. Emily! There you go, Sammy. Well done, bro. Get back to your chair. Enormous man. Guys, that was a bit of fun. So spread the word. We may or may not be giving away free money again tomorrow. But guys, the point is this. Whatever your value is, whatever you've been through, whatever you've done, however you're feeling today, your value remains the same. Because ultimately, and on this I land, ultimately our value depends on what someone is willing to pay for us. And the gospel, the Bible tells us that God so loved this world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him might not perish but have eternal life. In other words, the Bible tells us that God sent Jesus Christ to die on a cross to buy us back with his blood. Just think of the value. If there is a God, what would his blood be worth? And what the Bible tells us is that God's blood is worth you and me. That's how loved, that's how precious we are to God. The book of Acts says this: be shepherds of the church of God, which he bought with his own blood. What are we worth? What's our value? According to God, we're worth everything. According to the Bible, we're worth dying for. We're worth Jesus. So don't settle for anything less. Thanks for listening, guys.